Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment to respond to the poll on your screen. How many individuals are attending this webinar at your location? If there are more than 5, please enter the number of attendees present in the questions box. We will begin shortly. Hello, everyone, and welcome to EPA's 17th Annual Drinking Water Workshop. We are glad that you could virtually join us here today for the opening session. Now I will turn it over to Alan Roberson from the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators, who will introduce our speakers.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Alan Roberson. I'm Executive Director of the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 17th Annual Drinking Water Workshop. First off, I want to start and say thanks to EPA for being a partner with ASDWA in this workshop over the years. It's been a very productive and fruitful partnership. I'd like to thank the EPA staff and the ASDWA staff that served on the planning team, particularly in their ability to pivot to a virtual format. It was a bit of a scramble for everyone with this kind of format to be able to shift from being in person in Cincinnati. And I do miss not getting some chili and some ribs when I'm there, but we'll work that out next year. And then because we're able to do it virtually, the attendance is way up, and I think there'll be a lot of benefit for folks out there with this kind of format. I'd like to say thanks to all the folks from the state. I think we had 1,200 people from the ASDWA membership sign up. They're able to participate and then provide their perspective, and you'll hear a lot of them over the next 3 days from the state's perspective. And then finally, I want to thank everyone that's listening in and taking time out of your busy day to listen to all these pretty critical subjects we're going to cover over the next 3 days. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg Sayles. Greg is Director of the Environmental Solutions and Emergency Response Office at EPA in Cincinnati. So take it away, Greg.
In putting on this, I want to thank Alan and ASDWA over the years for being great partners in putting on this workshop. And in fact, EPA has a long history of collaborative work with ASDWA, and Alan, with your leadership, we want to keep that going. So thank you. As Alan said, I'm Greg Sayles. I'm the director of EPA Center for Environmental Solutions and Emergency Response, and that acronym is CESAR. So you might hear some of that from me and others. We're one of 4 research centers in EPA's Office of Research and Development. And I want to send my greetings as well to everybody from all over the nation and outside the country who have joined us today and this week. It's going to be if you look, I'm sure many of you have scoured the agenda, and there's some amazing things on the agenda. So a lot of hard work went into this production, and I hope you all can participate as much as possible. For those of you who attended this in the past, and I know some of you have been to many of these in the past, this workshop was sponsored by EPA's National Risk Management Research Laboratory. ORD reorganized last year, and this new center, the CESAR, includes the same great folks that you've worked with from NERML in the drinking water world. They're all there, and they're still here, and they're on the program here as well. And but also in the CESAR family now includes our water security people, as well as the scientists who work on developing drinking water analytical methods. The center conducts applied stakeholder-driven research and provides responsive technical support to help the nation's environmental challenges, mostly around the built environment. So it's my pleasure this morning to introduce both of our keynote speakers. Our first speaker, This morning is my boss. It's Jennifer Orme-Zavaleta, who is the Principal Deputy Assistant Administrator for Science and Office of Research and Development, and she's also EPA Science Advisor. Dr. Orme-Zavaleta has been with EPA since 1981, holding a number of positions across EPA, several in the water world, including working for EPA's Office of Water early in her career, and was the first National Program Director for EPA's Safe and Sustainable Water Resources National Research Program. Now, Jennifer runs what we think is the world's premier environmental research organization. Again, EPA's Office of Research and Development, with 10 major locations across the country, 1,500 staff, and a $500 million annual research budget, making an impact every day on human health and the environment. So it's my pleasure to welcome Jennifer Orme-Zavaleta to the stage. Jennifer.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks so much. It's great to virtually see everyone here. I'm really pleased to have an opportunity to come and talk with you this morning. You know, the work that you do in drinking water, providing drinking water to across the country is really a critical role. And as you think back and as we reflect on drinking water in small systems, you know, I want to reiterate a little bit of history about the importance of the work that you do and the role that you play with public health in this whole country in particular. Many of you know that back to the earliest days of public health, protecting drinking water has really been foundational to ensuring community health. You might, well, none of us will remember, but in your history, you know, back in 1854, there was an issue of cholera sweeping across London in the Soho neighborhood, and more than 500 people died in just a 10-day period. It was the efforts of a London physician, John Snow, who helped map the cases of cholera and was able to, you know, forensically identify a drinking water pump, the Broad Street pump, that was the source for the cholera contamination. Fast forward 50 years to 1908, and here we're looking at in the U.S. at Jersey City, New Jersey, where they became the first to look at chlorinating water on a permanent basis to a large U.S. city. And as a result, the incidence of typhoid fever over the following years declined dramatically. So we've known for a long time that it's really important to protect our drinking water. Our drinking water is a precious resource, and we all rely on it. And I think we've all been very fortunate in this country for the attention and efforts we've placed to providing safe drinking water. Even though we've made a lot of progress since 1854, we also recognize that we still have a significant number of challenges, and the challenges are especially evident in small drinking water systems. So it's really important that we stay current with the latest information on solutions for you know, all of the different issues that small systems face. And we hope that this workshop is going to help create a platform for sharing some new information. In the US, there are over 145,000 active public water systems, and 97% of these are small. That means they serve 10,000 people or fewer. And then 83% of the more than 140,000 small systems are serving even fewer people, 500 or less. So each of these systems require staff to maintain and operate their systems. So some of these small systems, so some of the challenges that we know we're facing include not only aging infrastructure, but a lack of financial resources, limited expertise to choose the appropriate operations and maintenance systems, limited options for residual disposal, state primacy agency resources to support a large number of small systems. So to support these efforts at the state and local levels and to assist small systems with these challenges, EPA's Office of Research and Development and Office of Water, in cooperation with the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators, as Alan noted, you know, we've been holding this annual workshop now for 17 years. And really the idea is to provide timely information to really build a community of practice and help to answer questions that are relevant to drinking water topics for small systems. When the first workshop was held in 2004, it was by invitation only, and it was designed as an educational workshop for state field staff that are working with small communities and looking at, for example, arsenic treatment technologies. In 2008, at the encouragement of state agency, the workshop was open to the public, and it expanded to include a number of small drinking water system topics beyond just arsenic. As our outreach has expanded, the number of attendees at the workshop has risen. And last year, we had over 400 people attend in person, which was a great opportunity, as Alan noted, for people to get together and socialize. And with COVID, that just wasn't possible this year. But maybe there's a benefit with COVID, because we have this year over 3,400 people that are registered for this meeting from 50 states, 5 territories, DC, and 38 other countries. So in some ways, maybe a benefit is that we're able to expand this opportunity and be much more inclusive to many of you out there to help address these issues. So there's 131 state, territory, province, environmental health agencies from all 50 states, 4 territories, DC, and 8 Canadian provinces. We have 34 tribal nations from 13 states and 1 Canadian province. We have 277 water utilities from 41 states, DC, and 4 other countries, and then 47 federal agencies, including military branches from 39 US and 12 other countries. So we also have a lot of attendees from local governments, including utilities, academia, NGOs, associations, consultants, and technical assistance providers in the private sector. EPA science really plays a foundational role in all of the work that we do here at EPA. And we have been working hard to help strengthen the connection between the research that we do and the impact on the environment and public health. You heard from Greg that as we reorganized, the title of the center that he now leads is on environmental solutions as well as emergency response. So our focus with our research is really to help solve problems. And so that's, again, why it's very critical that we have this gathering with all of you to hear from you about some of the problems and challenges you're facing, and then what work we have available to help you, or even what work we might need to do so that we can help the kind of challenges that you're facing. We're really taking a proactive approach, and over the past several years, we've been looking strategically to engage with a wide range of partners and looking at the priorities and looking at the kinds of challenges that you're facing. The small systems research is developing tools, technologies, and approaches that we hope will help you in providing safe drinking water. And this in turn will help water utilities lower the costs and provide safe drinking water to their customers. Our research includes development and evaluation of cost-effective treatment for regulated contaminants, contaminants of emerging concern like PFAS and algal toxins, and the development and updating of different models and tools, some of which you've had the opportunity to learn more about during the in-depth training that was held yesterday. Our scientists and engineers are working alongside many local organizations, sharing expertise and advancing the science that are needed to help protect the consumers. In studies in ORD's state-of-the-art solids and surface analysis lab in Cincinnati are advancing our understanding of pipe corrosion and its control. This research, combined with ORD's drinking water pilot plant studies on treatment and distribution, helps provide the science that's needed to respond to elevated lead levels in communities such as Flint, Michigan, or Sebring, Ohio. It complements the research to develop reliable, accurate analytical methods to measure contaminants in drinking water. Some of these methods look to non-invasively assess human exposures to pathogens, as well as to link to health effects with drinking water exposures. So again, I want to thank you all for participating in this event, working with us in a virtual platform. I don't know about you, but in the 6 months that we've been doing this, I've come across many different video platforms, and so it's always a challenge to work with each one. They all have their different nuances, but again, we just really, we're glad to have you here. We look forward to the engagement over the next couple of days. And so with that, Greg, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you for sharing your thoughts this morning and for helping us kick off the conference. It's my pleasure to introduce our second keynote speaker. Many of you drinking water practitioners out there are very familiar with EPA's Office of Water, and in particular, its Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is Dr. Jennifer McLain, who is the director of OGWDW. Jennifer has over 20 years of experience in EPA in the Office of Water, as well as the Office of Pesticide Programs. Jennifer joined EPA after earning her PhD in chemistry from Princeton. We in ORD appreciate the collaboration between her office and ORD that she has actively supported, and that has led to many impactful advances in drinking water science and engineering. So please welcome Dr. Jennifer McLain. Jennifer.
Thank you, Greg. And thanks so much to both ORD and to ASDWA for inviting Office of Water to join in this workshop today. It's always been a fantastic workshop in past years, and I'm sure this online version will be the same. Definitely agree with Jennifer Orme-Zavaleta's remarks about just the critical nature of drinking water and small systems to EPA's core mission of protecting public health and the environment, and having venues like this workshop for sharing information, best practices, and solutions for the challenges facing small drinking water systems is a really critical part of our work. We're really pleased to be here with our state partners and our colleagues in ORD. And I know that my staff, who will be working throughout this workshop to present and moderate and lead various training sessions, we are all very much looking forward to what we will learn through this workshop from each other and how we can use what we learn to further our work in supporting you in the water sector. I want to spend some of my time, a good chunk of my time maybe today, talking about the response and the shared mission that we have in responding to support the water sector during the COVID-19 pandemic. And then I'm going to talk some more about some of our typical core work that we do, and also groundwater and drinking water, working with supporting small systems. As you know, and as you have experienced, we have all been together across the water sector, fully engaged in supporting the work of providing safe drinking water during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is particularly critical, of course, to maintaining the health of our communities. EPA has taken multiple actions, some in collaboration with many others, to address the issues that are confronting the sector. And these are issues that we've heard throughout the sector as we've gone through these past few months. And those primary issues are related to potential absenteeism of workers, supply chain disruptions, and financial impacts, both in the immediate and long term. So the resources that we have issued are available on our website, but I'm going to highlight a few of them in case you're not familiar and you haven't had a chance to look for them. Very early on, EPA published a pandemic incident action checklist, and this is for water utilities to help in managing the response, a set of clear activities to go through to help in that response. We've also done quite a bit of work to prevent supply chain disruptions. We have a log of all the reported issues that we hear from technical assistance providers and from water utilities and water associations. We're keeping track of all of those, and then as we find them, we are looking for remedies for the supply chain issues that we hear about. The most notable of these was carbon dioxide. That's of course used for pH adjustment. We, in collaboration with the Department of Energy, published a map to show water utilities that need carbon dioxide where there are manufacturing sources that could be available to them if their typical supplier does not have what they need. We also published a guidance recently or in the past few months on maintaining or restoring water quality in buildings with low or no use. So this guidance has steps for water utility, for building managers to maintain water quality in buildings that are closed, and also a checklist of what needs to be done for reopening a building. Of course, I know everyone here at this workshop is very familiar with the issue that if you have stagnant water in your plumbing from reduced usage, then that can lead to water that is unsafe to drink, either from a microbiological or chemical standpoint. And we want to make sure that building managers know what they need to do in order to open up their buildings safely. And we've also been working to understand the financial impacts to the water sector, which have been significant, both in state programs and in utilities. We've worked with the Tribal Infrastructure Task Force to identify the broad scope of available federal resources and information to support tribal water systems. And we've also developed a financial tool to help water and wastewater and stormwater utilities track expenditures and cash flow changes due to COVID-19, and that tool is available on our website. We want to understand the obstacles that water utilities have already faced and those that they may face in the future even more. So what we're going to be doing in the next couple months is putting out a survey to water utilities, both water and wastewater utilities of all sizes, to assess the economic and operational challenges that they've faced during COVID-19 pandemic. We look forward to your support in helping us get a very high response rate for the survey. We really think this will help us as we plan for the future and make sure that we can be as responsive as possible for any future challenges. I'm going to turn a little bit to our workforce. If some of you may recall that a couple years ago at WEFTEC, EPA Assistant Administrator Dave Ross announced that we would be developing a national water workforce strategy. We continue to be hard at work developing this strategy. I know that many of you who are at this workshop today have been a part of those conversations. We look forward to having an update on this in the very near future. But in the meantime, we have taken a number of actions to support water and wastewater utilities, employees during the pandemic. One of the first ones is that Administrator Wheeler sent letters to tribal leaders and governors in all states and territories in Washington, D.C., urging them to ensure that water utility employees are considered essential workers. Because of course we cannot make sure that the nation has the drinking water and clean water it needs in order to, without the workers working every single day in those utilities. To protect those workers, we worked closely with both the water sector and FEMA to coordinate shipments of reusable cloth masks directly to water and wastewater utilities across the country. We were able to secure almost 3.5 million cloth masks for water and wastewater systems, including tribal utilities and systems in all 50 states, DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Navajo Nation. Through these and other efforts, we are committed to achieving our collective vision of a resilient and diverse water workforce. In addition to the work that we've been doing to support the water workforce, we are focused on ensuring that water systems have what they need in these times of financial stress. So we've been very focused on the funding and financing programs, some of those that you're familiar with and some of those that are new. And in particular, as Jennifer described, small systems, of course, face many challenges. Many of those challenges can be helped with financial support for things like technical assistance and infrastructure improvements. So we have, as you know, a number of programs to provide both grants and financing to systems. So wanted to talk a little bit about some of our grants that we have available, because there's some money that could be available to address problems that small systems face. One of those grants is the Water Infrastructure Improvements for the Nation Act Small and Disadvantaged Communities grants. We call that a WIN grant for small and disadvantaged communities. Congress has appropriated over $65 million to this grant program. So I encourage you to look into it if you're not familiar with it already. The monies for the fiscal years 18 and 19 are being awarded as we speak as non-competitive grants by states and tribes. We are looking into our approach for the 2020 funding, but this grant program really has a wide variety of activities that can help public drinking water systems in meeting the requirements of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Projects can range from things like PFAS testing to replacing aging infrastructure. We've had projects come in for household water testing for contaminants like lead, or for unregulated contaminants like perfluorinated chemicals. Projects such as replacing lead service lines, which can be a significant factor in reducing lead exposure in a house, and just a wide variety of projects that could be covered under that grant program. There's also a grant program that's specific to reducing lead in drinking water, and Congress has appropriated $40 million to that grant program. We had an RFA issued later this year. We are just now in the process of making decisions on that, and there are two areas in which monies will be awarded, one for reducing lead in drinking water through infrastructure and treatment programs, and a second for reducing lead in drinking water at schools and childcare facilities. There's also been a significant amount of money appropriated by Congress for the purposes of lead testing in drinking water at schools and childcare programs, almost $70 million. We have been awarding these grants as non-competitive formula-based grants to states and tribes. And just in July, we announced the availability of $4.3 million in funding for the tribal grant program for lead testing. And we sought statements of interest from tribal consortia by, the deadline was yesterday. So I hope we got a lot of letters in. I haven't checked in with folks, but I think that will be a popular program. And of course, I know you're familiar with the financial support that EPA and states deliver through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We have collectively financed approximately 35% of all of the funds for small systems. And we want to make sure that we continue to do that, as I said, that small systems can benefit significantly from these funding and financing programs. And I think that's part of the solution that we want to make sure that we are continuing to be supportive. And just a couple notes on some of our upcoming actions, because folks are always interested on where we're going in the future with regulations at EPA. I know that you've probably seen the proposed lead and copper rule that EPA issued in October. Our goal with that regulation is to significantly reduce lead in the nation's drinking water through a holistic approach to revising the current rule. We do anticipate having a final lead and copper rule in the very near future. We're also very close to having a final regulatory determination for the fourth contaminant candidate list, which included a proposed positive determinations for PFOA and PFOS. So that's something that you'll be seeing in early 2021. And we are also working on the rulemaking process for the next round of unregulated contaminant monitoring. As you all are wrapping up the monitoring for UCMR 4, we are going into UCMR 5, and we expect to publish a proposal by the end of this calendar year. Thanks again very much for inviting us to be here and participate throughout this whole workshop, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing all that important information and for your national drinking water leadership. Thanks so much. I'm going to wrap up here in a second and hand it over. I just want to encourage everybody, but especially you folks that have joined the workshop for the first time. There's apparently thousands of you, which is fantastic, to really try to take the time to appreciate this special workshop. It's a precious few days of amazing amounts of information, really great speakers. So I encourage you just to dig in, and as much as you can virtually, just to stay tuned in and participating. So thank you all. Have a great workshop in the next few days, and it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to Tom Speth and Michelle Latham.
Great, thank you very much, Greg. Thank you for our keynote speakers, Jennifer McLain and Jennifer Orme-Zavaleta. Great introduction talks for our workshop. Also, thanks to Alan Roberson, who kicked us off from ASDWA. We always appreciate our coordination with ASDWA and the Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water here in ORD. So don't go. We've got about 5 minutes or so about talking about logistical issues. Michelle Latham and I will cover it. So if we go to the next slide, right into the bullet of some of the logistics, we can get going. So yesterday, the training sessions actually started, the in-depth training, and we had close to 2,000 people attend in total across the 3 different training sessions yesterday. So that was a really big hit. I hope that in the future we can continue that type of training exercise. It seemed to be received real well. And I think it also helps us within the EPA, both the Office of Groundwater, Drinking Water, and ORD, Office of Research and Development, helps us package our research and our work in ways that can be helpful to people. The second thing to cover is the technical sessions with Q&A. They start at 12:30 this afternoon, we're a little different than what we typically do with our webinar series, where we have 2 speakers. We will have 3 speakers per session. Like the webinar, we will handle all questions at the end of all the talks. So after 3 talks, we'll cover all the sessions, all the questions. Please go to the question box, and you'll get directions from your moderator in those sessions. But please type in your questions into the question box ahead of time while the speakers are still talking, and then we'll organize it. And then we'll have about a half an hour after the 3rd talk, and we'll put the speakers up as panelists, and we'll go through the questions and have about a half an hour. So I think we'll have plenty of time to go over questions and answers and do kind of an Ask the Experts kind of session after every session. So stay tuned for that. Thirdly, the breakout groups for primacy agencies on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have an hour-long session each. Unfortunately, due to limitations on room size, we are just restricting that to our state primacy agency officials and us to go over issues that are relevant to the states and how they're moving toward drinking water issues and dealing with them. So for the state primacy agency people, and I know we've got about half of our people who are signed into this workshop are state people. Stay tuned for those 2 breakout groups that we'll cover on Wednesday and Thursday. And now I'm going to throw it over to Michelle Latham, who's going to cover the rest of the bullets.
Thanks, Tom. And just one more point about the breakout group. Like Tom said, it was limited to primacy agency staff. So if you did happen to register and did not get an invite, that's why. So we just, we do apologize. We tried to make this as much like the in-person workshop as possible, but like Tom said, we've got some limitations on size and virtual rooms. So hopefully we'll all be able to gather together again next year and can include everyone in those breakout groups. And we do have the communications group, which I know some of you have joined who are not from primacy agencies. So we do look forward to that starting Wednesday and Thursday. I do want to point out a couple things participation certificates, a lot of you signed up to get contact hour certificates. We will get those out to you via the email that you used to register. And we hope to get those out next week. It may take us a bit longer because, like you've heard a few times, we have thousands of people registered for this workshop. So it will take us a little bit more, a little extra time to get those certificates out. The sessions, the technical sessions are being recorded and will be posted to EPA, the workshop and webinar series. As a lot of you may know, you may join and attend the small systems webinars. So those recordings will be posted on that website. And that will take a couple of weeks, and we will let people know when those are available. Also, we are going to set, like we do every workshop, we ask for your feedback because it's very important for us to help with planning next year and to get ideas from you of how we can improve the workshop. So we will be sending that out. It will be an online eval, and we'll send that out via email after the workshop. And many of you may have noticed, you can actually, the material for the entire workshop is available to all registered attendees. That link, if you have not seen it in your email yet, is available in the chat box. So if you look at your navigation bar, there's a link there that will take you directly to the share site with all of your material for all of the technical sessions and the in-depth training. There's some material available there as well. And I do want to point out, before we move on, I know a lot of people, I'm not sure how many of you have ever used GoToWebinar before, but I thought maybe, Tom, we could just talk, give a couple pointers on GoToWebinar, because this will be our platform for the week for the technical sessions. And as you're seeing here, I'm not sure if you've all noticed, you can kind of play around with the screen below the webcam of Tom and I. You can see there's some little bars that you can drag down. That allows you to shrink down the slide, shrink the webcam, so you can adjust. When there's webcam views, you can adjust the size of those through any of the presentations. Also in your navigation bar, there is a Q&A, there's a chat box, and there's a question. So if you have any questions, and your moderators will go over this, but if you have any questions, even now, if you have any questions right now about logistics, about upcoming agenda for the workshop, Tom and I can try to answer those really quickly. You can type those in the questions box there, and you'll also see that there's a handouts drop down. So anytime we have something to hand out for you, it will be in your navigation bar, and you can download that. And we do have one more slide. Mackenzie, if you could switch to the last slide. So I'm assuming there's going to be things that come up you have questions about throughout the week. So if you please feel free to reach out to us. This is the email. It's the best way, because all of us who are moderating and running the webinar and presenting this week are going to be extremely busy. So this is the best way to get in touch with us and ask any questions that you have about the workshop. So jot that down. I believe it is also in the chat box. So if you want to copy that and keep that with you, we'll respond to you as quickly as possible.
Right.
So, go ahead, Tom.
And another thing about the technical sessions, that because this is unique in a virtual workshop, and we're going to be running the questions after the third talk, this is going to be different than a typical conference one would go to. So we're not going to start the talks exactly on the half hours. If a talk ends a little early, we're going to go right into the next talk and then finish the 3 talks and then do the questions after the 3 talks, like we do in the webinar series. So if you're planning on, I know some people like to jump from talk to talk. If you're planning on that, it's a little tricky because you might get caught with one talk that runs a little longer than another, and you might miss the next talk. We'd encourage you, we're hoping that we put the talks in terms of the same material being present in each session, and hopefully you can just stick with one session, and hopefully that works for you. But beware, if you're planning on jumping around to see various talks, they might not line up exactly time-wise, and we're doing that so that we can have this expert ask the speakers type of session after the third talk.
Okay. And I believe we've covered everything. Hannah, are there any questions that have come through from any of the participants?
Yeah, we've got a few questions here, and folks can feel free to type some more in as we go through them. Let's see, you mentioned that recordings will be posted and made available to everyone. Does that include yesterday's trainings as well?
Yes, it does. I don't want to speak. I believe all of Mackenzie, you may want to jump in here. I believe all of the trainings were recorded and will be posted along with all of the technical sessions. If I'm wrong, feel free to jump in there.
Yes, yeah, training 1 and 3 are recorded and we will get those posted afterwards. And then all the technical sessions going forward, we will also be recording and posting.
Okay, thank you. And Hannah, before we go on to more questions, Tom, I just want to, and everyone who's on the line, because I know some people may jump off and not want to hear the Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're really excited to have all of you and that we have this opportunity to reach thousands of people this year. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also be patient with us because this is our first virtual workshop. And so we're going to be pretty busy for 4 days straight. And so if there's a few technical glitches, please try to be patient with us. We're trying to do the best we can.
Okay, Hannah, we'll finish up with questions. Go ahead.
Sure. We don't have too many more. Let's see. Someone asked, is the focus group for primacy agencies just state, or does that include local primacy agencies at the county level as well?
Was that for the breakout groups?
Yeah, for the breakout groups.
Yeah. Yeah, it was primacy agencies, and that's how we announced it. It was from local, state. Yeah, it wasn't just state. So state, okay. Territory, local, and tribal. Great.
We have a couple questions about folks wondering if they could switch sessions, or you know, they thought they signed up for one, but it looks like it ended up that they were registered for another. Is there anything they can do at this point to change which sessions they're registered for?
Yes. So registration is still up on the website. We'll leave it up. We're only going to take links down as the session ends. So feel free, if you've changed your mind, you want to go to another session, feel free to go up there and register. And you can also cancel your previous registration, but you know, all you need to do is, like I said, go to the website. And I don't know if we can put that in the chat box. I'm sure everyone's been there to register, the Drinking Water Workshop website, and just register for the session you'd like to attend.
Okay, great. Seeing if any other questions come through, but that looks like we've about covered it.
All right, and one more thing before people, I do want to thank, there's other people I'd like to thank. There was a lot, like Greg had mentioned, and Jennifer, there was a lot of work that went into planning this, and I really want to thank the Cadmus group for all of their work on this, helping us plan this workshop, and for the planning team across the Office of Research and Development and Office of Water and ASDWA. It was a large group effort, and I really just want to thank everyone, and also our Safe and Sustainable Water Resources. ORD has a research program that supports this workshop every year, led by Suzanne Van Drunix, the National Program Director. So we also want to thank Suzanne for supporting this workshop, as well as Greg Sayles, of course, who supports it through, as he mentioned, Caesar.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Any other questions?
I think we're ready to go. And so along with Michelle, I would like to thank everybody, especially this year, which took a little extra time because as we tried to wrap our mind around, or segueing actually from actually having an in-person workshop, then realizing that we couldn't, and that took a number of months to do that. And then under a fairly short time frame, doing everything needed to do to get a virtual one going. Took a little extra time this year, so we appreciate everybody's efforts, especially this year. So that's kudos to everybody on the team, and thank you so much for attending. Without your attendance, this means nothing, and we love to have you here. So with that, I think Michelle, I think we're done. I think our technical sessions start at 12:30. So we're going to have a little break here, so people on the East Coast can have lunch. On the West Coast, they can have brunch, and in Hawaii and Alaska, they can have breakfast. So a little bit of a break, and we reconvene at 12:30, correct, Michelle?
Yes, but wow, I kind of left off some really important people when I thank people, and that would be all of the presenters and the leads from the states and from other organizations who helped us. I mean, we couldn't do this without you, so thank you so much for being part of this workshop. And there's a lot of people who are going to benefit from your expertise, so thank you as well. And that's it. Good to go.
See you at 12:30.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the session.